One. Welcome back to our Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Arena Sealed Set League review of the cards, and we're doing white today. I'm SpaghettiMitch.
And I'm Goldie.
And we'll get right into it with Light the Way, which is a 1-mana instant. And it says it's a white card, and it says choose one. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature or vehicle and untap it, or you return target permanent you control to owner's hand.
I think this is very similar to the trick from Kaladesh, right? The like something that's +1/+1 until end of turn, or return it to your hand. I think
I'm
that
really
was.
unfamiliar with Kaladesh. It's one of the sets I hadn't played in person.
I had some trick that was very similar, but I like this because you can untap something if you have a vehicle, you can crew it. You can,
I think
it's cheap,
it's
messes with combat math. It's a
you can
saves
unexpectedly
some.
kill something with that untap thing. It's hard to ignore that. And I don't like sleeping on 1-mana combat tricks because they often get you.
Yeah. The bounce is sometimes reasonable if you want to like recast something for value, or
Yeah.
in this set particularly, it can, if you have a good saga, you can bounce it, play it again.
Oh yeah. The bounce thing is it's usually save a thing or get an extra ETB. That's normally what it equates to. Then that being said, it usually wins you a combat or saves a thing. It's a 1-mana trick. It's usually like C minus pick order. It's nothing you have
Yeah,
to pick up early.
C minus. Yeah, I can't
Decent.
see taking too many of these, so maybe C minus, but I like them. I like it.
Yeah, I like it for combat trick. Any 1-mana combat trick I usually like a lot. If I'm gonna play one, it's probably gonna be 1-mana. Yeah. So this next one's Lucky Offering.
Lucky offering. It's 1 white for a sorcery common. Destroy target artifact with mana value 3 or less. You gain 3 life. Fun art,
Usually
but
this is mega sideboard. Usually.
yeah.
I
Um,
I think I think it's probably sideboard again because the value 3 or less clause of it makes me not want to put it unless I know what I'm against.
yeah, I think at the baseline sideboard, not knowing any other cards, you bring it in. Um, if you had something to kill. But I think this might get closer to like Exile Spirit or uh, Disturb card
Oh, three
from
three been some.
from from mid.
Yeah.
Uh, because there might be like this might be something that takes out uh, you know 50 or 60% of the cards if there's a lot of artifact creatures running around.
There a lot of
So
the vehicles are actually 3 or less. Come to think of it, so they'll hit
yeah,
vehicles a lot.
it does
Oh,
hit vehicles.
and any actually this is a cheap way to get rid of basically any reconfigure card.
Mm-hmm.
So and then
Yeah,
that
it
way it's
hits.
a creature too. That's a creature. It's not an artifact you're getting rid of. It's a creature every time too.
Yeah, yeah.
Man,
So I mean,
yeah.
this, depending on what percentage of things this hits, I think is going to have a big effect on its grade. So I'm sure, like when Sirkovitz looks at it, he's going to calculate what it hits. I think I wouldn't necessarily mainboard this at the beginning, but it's a great sideboard card, I think.
Yeah, great sideboard card. I'd say even like B minus range sideboard card. It gains you 3 life too. It's gonna stop a lot of aggro stuff that includes artifacts. You don't have to pick it too highly, obviously, but it's. I would be surprised if this is better than it looks by the end of the format. But it's yeah, if you're bringing it in the
Yeah,
sideboard, it could be as good as B minus 1 mana removal for like good artifact and
yeah.
gain.
I think this set might have enough artifacts that it's gonna kind of be in the like you play one of, just like a shock. But we'll see. Is it sorcerer speed? Yeah, sorcerer speed makes it a little bit less good, but
Yeah, I'll say if you're bringing it from the sideboard, like B minus. Otherwise, it's probably D range level to pick up, like a B. All right, here we have Moth Rider Patrol. It's 1 white. It's a 1/1 flyer, and it has tap. Sorry, 3 and a white tap, and you get to tap a creature.
I love 1/1 flyers. Um,
Yeah,
Interesting. I think it's kind of neat. It has a warrior type,
yeah.
so it accounts for the red white thing.
I
Once it
think.
gets,
Yeah, yeah,
or I was gonna say, once it gets kind of outclassed, you can always just turn it into a tapper.
yeah. I think this card is going to be good because if it's the aggro plan of attacking alone with a warrior, because you buff this
Mm-hmm.
up, it's evasive, so you're not afraid of like attacking this, even if they have a 4/4, and you buff this to a 3/3. You're not afraid because it's in the air. But what I like about it is if you're doing that warrior samurai thing, attacking alone, often they're gonna have a nice blocker to get in the way of your one thing attacking. This thing could be like a utility thing, backing up your ground creature that's attacking by tapping
Mm-hmm.
their best blocker, making them not have any good blocks. So that's why I think that's strong. Good in the late game, good in the early game.
Yeah, I think so. This might be like a 1 mana creature. Pings in for a little bit. White blue. It's super evasive, so you super early you can get a cheap um like ninjutsu trigger off of it, and like play this card the same, and just like play it back again. Um,
So if there's one thing I want to say about this card above all other tappers we see, I think instead of on end of their step tapping something down, we're gonna often see the on my turn tap your thing down so I get a good attack. More than normal.
yeah. Um, this how much? What on the traveling minister scale is this? From like
As in how wrong are we gonna get it when we do set review? Everyone did
no,
though.
like yeah. How close to a traveling minister is this 1 drop going to be? I think I think it's gonna be good.
As for the reasons
Um,
I said, I think it enables the game plan which Traveling Minister did for like 3 of the 4 archetypes it was in or something.
I think I'm gonna give it a C plus.
Definitely C plus or B minus for me. I think C plus. I think it's very solid to have it. That's where the best commons usually line up C plus.
Yeah, it's a bit expensive for a tap, but again, I mean,
Yeah, it's more like finisher tap. This is a
uh,
strange card.
Regent's Authority is 1 white for an instant at common. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's an enchantment creature or legendary creature, instead put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it gets +1/+1 until end of
So
turn.
it also gets +2/+2, but one of the 1/1s stay for your 1 mana
Yeah.
instant. It's a
Um,
little upside if you hit an enchantment or legendary creature. Otherwise, it's just a combat trick. Is it a good combat trick? Or if we compare it to the other 1 white combat trick, it's probably a little worse, I'd say.
it's a little
Yeah,
worse. I think the other one has more flexibility in this.
yeah, yeah. It's a
I mean,
good
it's
deal worse.
conditional to get counters on it.
Yeah, I think it's like D level pick, not not even high on the
Yeah.
1 white scale, 1 white instant scale.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this one I think you're gonna want to avoid for in lieu of the light the way.
yeah. All right, next we have Ancestral Katana, which is 1 and a white artifact equipment. I think it's our first equipment we're seeing. So whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you can pay 1. When you do,
Hmm.
attach Ancestral Katana to it, and what it does is it gives it +2/+1. The normal equip cost is a 3.
Hmm.
It's one of those payoffs for like we saw with the Boros signpost uncommon. It's one of those payoffs for attacking alone with a warrior or samurai.
It's not too expensive to equip if you're doing that thing. A little bit more expensive otherwise. The
It's
buff
great.
is reasonable.
It's
Plus two
great if
plus one is good.
you're yeah. It's great if you're paying the 1. It's a good value. I'm not interested in paying the 3. I don't think you're ever going to be interested in paying the 3, but it's
Yeah,
there.
I would probably toss it in my deck at the same frequency as like a short sword or all those other similar equipments that's like plus to the lances, etc.
I think the attack alone deck's gonna be all about one creature, and then passive abilities when that one creature attacks. Gonna it's gonna try and work around getting these passive buffs to attacking alone. What
I
do
would
we rate
probably
this?
play it. Voltron up.
I think this is not going to make the deck as much as people think because there's actually a bunch of reconfigure cards that are going to work like equipment. So I don't know how much room there
Mm-hmm.
is for equipment. Why you really need equipment that badly when you already have a bunch of equipment creatures running around. So I
Yeah,
think
if you
it's
have,
probably
I would almost always take the equipment creature over this for its duality, probably.
those might be snatched up quicker than we think though. But I don't think
Yeah.
this is too high of a pick. It's probably like D plus in my mind.
He's a D plus. Yeah, I'll give it a C minus. Maybe it's a D plus, but I don't think it's not bad.
No, not bad. You'll play it if you don't have anything better, aka a reconfigure creature.
Okay, a D plus. I'm gonna change to D plus. How about that?
B plus? No, D plus.
D plus. Um,
So yeah,
this
next
is
card.
the uh, Iganjo exemplar. It's 1 and a white for an enchantment creature, human samurai at common. It's two. It's a 2/1. It has whenever a samurai warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
This is a
Cool.
perfect. This is a perfect example of what this color pair is trying to do. Trying to attack alone, and it's very simple. Attack. It's not quite a 3/2, although it looks like it, because it's only when it attacks alone. And aggressive decks usually turns out you want to attack with several things. Not saying that makes this bad. I'm just wondering about the color pair in general.
I think I would really like it if this was a 2/2, because it's going to be hard to chain these things into, like you drop, like because it's common. So you might get in a situation where you have multiple of these, and you're like, my deck's built around this exemplar, and you drop one, you drop one, you drop one. Um,
Well, you
but
don't
that
really
fourth
mind if this dies when it attacks, because you're trying to tackle the one thing a turn anyway. So if it trades off, it just clears the way for their.
But the more you have, it will keep bumping everything else you
Oh,
attack,
true.
right?
Passively, yeah. Sorry, yeah,
So it's,
passive.
if you lose, it's passive, and so I think it makes the third turn attack pretty hard because you're still attacking into a 2/2, and a lot of these things it's like you get your third turn attack because you're attacking is like a 3/3.
Are we gonna see attacks, declare attacker steps in this format where there's like 7 triggers on the stack because of all these attack alone things?
Maybe, and then you see like one instant speed removal kill it.
I wonder if there's instant speed protection, not bounce to your hand, but like protection. Maybe. I guess we'll see that. We'll be looking at those cards, but that might be important, like a valorous stance type of thing.
Yeah, and that's what makes me a little bit leery of this. Like, it's when you have a lot of stuff happening at the same time, you're a little bit protected if it's spread out amongst things. When you're loading something up, it can be powerful, but one thing goes awry and you've lost a lot.
Well, that being said, actually, we're talking about passive abilities, so even if it dies, all your creatures get that the next attack, the next turn. It's not like everything goes away.
Sure.
That's something I realized. You have backup
Um,
since they're all passive.
I, I I mean, it attacks with a 3 mana, or sorry, a 2 mana 3/2 by itself. That's okay. I think it's going to be a CC plus in that deck for sure.
I think I like C plus. Having a bunch of these in your deck is going to enable this attack with one thing, and suddenly you're attacking with a your 3/3, but instead it's a 6/6 because you got a few abilities on the few these abilities on the stack. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think if you're trying to do that thing, or if you build like your sealed pool and you have, the more you have like a bunch of these because they're common and it's all one set, uh, this could get
Oh yeah.
strong. Just a ton of these flooding the board.
Not only these, but anything that triggers with the when samurai or warrior attack. That's one
Hmm.
thing in the set actually. Samurai and warrior are going to be interchangeable, just like rogue and ninja are actually. They announced that when they were designing the set. I don't know why exactly, but they just oh, I guess for standard, like if you can just put a warrior in your samurai attack alone deck or
Hmm.
a rogue, which there are in standard. Yeah, so I think C plus for Iganjo exemplar for me.
Agreed.
Ooh, firsty here. We got a firsty.
Yeah.
So sagas start in Dominaria, then Theros, then they saw it again
Kaldheim.
in Kaldheim, and we're back again with a new take on it. And this is the very first common saga, if I'm not mistaken. We had our very first dual colored sagas in Kaldheim, but here we are with a common one. And how sagas work are when you play it, it gets a lore counter on it, and the first step triggers. And then after your draw step on the next 2 turns, you're gonna add a lore counter as well, triggering the second and third step. So in the first case here, for 1 and a white, we have Era of Enlightenment. It's an enchantment saga, and the first step is scry 1. The second step is gain 2 life, and the third step, which is going to be common for all of the sagas in the set, is it has a backside and it flips. It exiles the saga and it returns to the battlefield flipped as a creature, an enchantment creature
Oh,
to be
interesting.
precise. It's Hand of
Do they all have
Enlightenment.
that?
Yeah, I believe every single one leaves the battlefield and comes back, so it doesn't have haste basically, unless it actually has haste.
Yeah,
This one
they
has
will
first
have
strike.
summoning sickness. Typically, sagas sacrifice at the very end of their step. These
Yeah,
ones will exile and leave the battlefield.
yeah. It usually says sacrifice when there's 3 on it. When all the lore counters are filled up. But this is an enchantment creature, human monk, 2/2 first strike. So that's what you get 3. Not the turn you play it, not the turn after that, but the turn after that.
I kind of like it. I mean, the discount plan, you take a little time off, but you get a first striker later on.
Yeah, this is the weird thing about the tempo of this set because yeah, it's a fine creature for 2 mana. You don't get it right away, but you still get it passively in 2 turns. I'm fine playing this on turn 2. It's good for mana screw, mana flood prevention too.
Yeah,
You get the scry 2 on turn 2.
smooths things out really. Like it's just like playing a turn 2 Omen of the Sea or whatever. Like I guess that draws you a card, but very similar. Um,
This is probably meant for the Orzhov deck with enchantment maybe, more than
I,
not the aggressive style decks for that we just saw the cut last few cards.
in a little bit, it's gonna have that kind of feel of like, well, am I gonna have like Kaldheim did? Am I gonna have the leeway to, you know, pay 2, pay 3, take a turn off for more value later? Um, with the foretell thing, am I facing an aggro deck? Am I facing a ninjutsu deck that's gonna start whacking me? This is gonna get you 2 life, so you have a turn of life, but if
This
they're drawing
is
cards or cheating people out, like
I think this is solid. I'm pretty happy to play this like in almost not the aggressive deck, but any other deck.
yeah, I think this card's like just I mean you scry 2 gain 2 and then you get a creature out of it at the end.
I think it reaches C plus for me for that, as long as you're not going aggro. It doesn't do
Yeah,
much
I
for
think
you
you're
in
gonna
aggro.
survive to play it. I think C plus 2.
C plus 2. All right. Our next card is Kitsune Ace. It's a pilot.
All right, it is a pilot. Got some pilots back. Kitsune Ace. It's 1 and a white for a creature fox pod racer. Oh, sorry, sorry,
It's Star Fox.
that's a pilot. But that thing looks like a pod racer.
Yep.
So it's a 2/2, and it has whenever a vehicle you control attacks, choose one. That vehicle gains first strike until end of turn, or untap Kitsune Ace.
Yeah. So
Cool.
upon thinking about it, the untap part, I'm pretty sure is so you can crew something on defense too. So so you tap this to crew a
Yeah,
vehicle, and then it can crew something on defense. I mean, you're probably gonna use the first thing more often. I would imagine the first strike.
yeah. You enable your attack with the vehicle, or if you have a good attack, you just untap it.
Yeah, if you have a good attack that you don't even care about first strike, yeah, you untap it, ready to crew something else or block, what have you.
And
It's
if you
good for a
have,
common. This seems like uncommon level like complexity, but it's
yeah, it's limited. You have to be wanting these vehicles, and it's a vanilla 2/2 if not. But um, I
yeah, it
mean,
goes way down without vehicles, obviously.
but in the like if you're playing a bunch of vehicles and you're looking to do that thing, your fail case, you don't have any vehicles in your hand. What's still at 2/2.
Wait, interestingly, this is somewhat vigilancy. If you create a vehicle with another creature and then attack with both this and the vehicle, you just get to untap this.
Yeah, you can.
Not incredibly high outside of vehicle decks. I think you're gonna find these later in packs. You're probably gonna find these later in packs. I don't see vehicles being like, oh, I have to crew my vehicle, give it first strike. Like, you can pick this up later. It's probably C minus.
Yeah, I think it's going to be way better in the vehicle deck, and which is cool. I always sort of like, when specific decks are looking for specific things, and you're rewarded for kind of
Yeah.
picking the stuff through.
Sometimes you're gonna blow out the opponent by attacking with a vehicle at first strike, but you can probably make that happen without picking this too highly.
Yeah, one thing I think in the sealed league specifically, vehicles are going to be really good in the first few weeks because a lot of them are going to be colorless. So they go in any deck. They are brawly creatures, defensive generally.
Yeah,
So
yeah. On to one of my favorite cards of the set, and a lot of people's too, is the Spirited Companion. It's 1 and a white. It's an enchantment creature dog. It's 1/1 and has the ETB. Very simply, draw a card. It's a 2 mana cantrip on an enchantment creature body.
busted.
Busted, yeah.
I don't know. It's like a straight upgrade to
The
what was the
vampire.
vampire?
But there's a green one
Dust
too.
Legion?
That's
Dust
Legion
Legion?
Zealot. But then there's the Elvish something or other green. The color shifted, but this is an enchantment. And white
Yeah,
black cares about enchantments on the field, and obviously white green we haven't seen too much of exactly what it's gonna do. But well, this costs 1 if you put the white green sign plus uncommon.
yeah. If you
Not
have
bad.
one of those guys, 1 mana, 1/1, and draw a card, yeah, I'm in for this. I think C plus no matter what deck you put it in.
I don't see how it's like anything, but it's just such a typical C plus for me. Yeah, I mean, yeah, C plus sounds right. I kind of want to give B minus, but it's not
I
strong
do
per
too.
se. It's just
I do
like
too.
it's gonna be picked a lot, right? Generous Stray, it wasn't that high of a pick, but it was. You know what? It's better than Generous Stray, so let's. I'm gonna give B minus. Why not?
All right.
Just in hopes that the enchantment clause makes it better.
Yeah. I think you might be on. I think you might be right. It's definitely trending up there.
Yeah,
Wanderer's Intervention. I love any card with the Wanderer slashing something in it. This one does. It's 1 and a white for an instant at common. Deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Very good.
I have to say this before we get to the mythics. Back when they spoiled the next like year of sets, they said Kamigawa is coming back. This is like a year, like I don't know, 3/4 of a year ago now. Maybe it was half a year. But they said Kamigawa was coming back, and we're gonna see someone that you haven't seen, you've seen before. As soon as they said that, I'm like, the Wanderer. The Wanderer is coming back from War of the Spark. That one Planeswalker we didn't know anything about. I'm like, totally. It's obvious now, but I called it so
You
long
called
ago.
it.
I was
You
looking on
called it.
Reddit, so a few people read it too. Well, it was not that hard to figure out if you thought about that right away. But there's no backstory for the Wanderer. That being said, here's an instance featuring the Wanderer. Something we've seen before, 4 damage to attacking a blocking feature. We often get a card like this.
Yeah, this is better though, right? I mean, does Divine Intervention do blocking? I think this is upgrading cards.
There's
I don't
the
know of any card that does both.
There's an AFR card that was dual, two different choices that did 5 damage to only attacking. You usually wanted this on the attacking. It's most of the time, like 90% of the time, you're doing this on attacking creatures.
Oh no, it's divine. It's straight up. It is Divine Arrow.
Oh, so we have Divine Arrow with Wanderer on it. It's pretty solid removal. Like I think B minus it beats out most of the commons that are just a creature. So I take
Yeah,
that pretty highly. It's removal. Removal is important.
it's removal. If you can wait until after declare blockers too. They ninjutsu something in, you can still kill whatever they bring in.
Oh yeah, that gives it a bit of extra value in the set in particular. Yeah. Didn't think of
Yeah,
that.
because anything that comes in is still attacking or unblocked until the end of combat.
Okay, not much more to say than that. It's
Yeah,
yeah, a bit
T
extra
minus
value
plus
because
for
in a world of ninjutsu. Now we have a dragonfly suit, 2 and a white, the 3/2 artifact vehicle, flying, crew 1, a white artifact vehicle.
nice.
Very mech.
It is a mech suit. I like that.
Sad
I
pilots.
really I really like the skyship, the skiff or whatever. I think that was 2 mana.
I
But
don't know what you're referring to actually.
oh yeah, it's also in Kaladesh.
Oh. Yeah, I'm
Um,
not so familiar with that. But this makes the
uh,
pilots sad. They get the crew extra, but now any old schmo 1/1 gets the crew.
yeah, but I think you're gonna have these little 1/1s lying around. So 3 mana, 3/2 flyer.
The dog, the dog. Perfect.
The dog.
The dog gets the crew.
Um,
Crew the
I think
mech.
I
Good
think the
flavor.
C is getting better if you like. It's a little bit harder to just target. You need a crew member, but
I
there's
feel like
pluses and
I feel like this is better than it looks because a 3/2 flyer in any old set has to be answered. Eventually, usually a 3/2 flyer, or put flying blocker in front of it. This
mhm.
they cannot do it at sorcery speed. It's not a creature until you turn it into a creature. So how they have to answer it at instant speed. So I think that's where the value comes.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, so you pros in that it's harder to target. Again, right? People are probably going to be running artifact removal at least at the
yeah,
start in
true.
sideboard. Um, but the downside is you need something to crew it, right? If they
Hmm.
whack off your dudes, or the ninjas whack your dudes off. Um,
They the one thing I'll say though is a lot of the vehicles are good defensively, as I said before, but this is not. It's saying
yeah,
attack with me. So I think it's C plus in the end. There's pros and cons to it.
yeah, I'm gonna give it C. See how it balances out. I think it's probably gonna shift depending on what your deck looks like.
Okay,
Um,
sounds right.
all right.
Now we
Next
got
up is Golden
golden.
Tail Disciple.
Is it my turn to read? I think it is. But yeah, it is. Golden Tail Disciple. 2 and a white. It's a 2/3 lifelink fox monk, and it's an enchantment creature as well. Everything's an enchantment creature. I don't know what the flavor is, but a lot of white cards are enchantment creatures. It just is.
Um, I think it's a little bit worse than the Kindly Ancestor from the last set, but
Funny enough,
um,
that had an enchantment on the backside. This is just
yeah.
by itself.
But this does care about enchantments. You might get it for free. In some situations, it might be better than the Kindly Ancestor. I think it's gonna be like a solid C. Like these defensive lifelinky drops always tend to play out better, I think, than they appear.
I do think the ancestors. It was a good card, but I think it has to be better because it's 2 cards in one. Especially giving lifelink to a different creature could be super strong.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the enchantment part of this might be relevant. We haven't seen a bunch of the Orzhov cards that care about having both, or the Selesnya cards that care. In a world of buffing your creatures up to modify them, I guess lifelink's better. I think you can take this at C and be fine. I don't think it deserves too much higher than that. My inclination was to give it C plus, but I think I'd start at C before we. It's going to be dependent on if white's strong and
Yeah.
who's trying to snatch the white 3 drops up. If white's strong, a lot of people are going to try to get their hands on something like this. That's all you have to say about that.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next.
Oh, cool looking card. This is Imperial Subduer, 2 and a white. For a human samurai common, 3/2. Whenever a samurai warrior you control attacks alone, tap target creature you don't control.
Our low drops actually we're talking about the Samurai and Warrior things happening, and we forgot about it for a few cards, but we're back to it, and this is like a stronger, probably the strongest payoff for that
Oh,
so far.
this is great. It's a solidly, it's fine. 3/2 for 3, but tapping things. Oh, that's good.
Territorial Hammer Skull with a provision on it.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of these,
Yeah, I was
3 of
thinking the
these.
same. Think about
Yeah,
the signpost uncommon for Boros. That just gave 1-0 for. I mean, it had haste also, but just the passive part of this, it's gonna help a lot. Uh,
these dudes are like better than the signpost, I think.
yeah, you're clearing the way just in case it didn't have a good attack. You're clearing the way to make sure you pretty much always have a good attack, and even have a combat
Yeah,
trick if needed.
this guy just makes it like, well, if somebody attacks you and does the ninja thing even, or like you have blockers back, so it's harder for them to do the ninja thing, and every time they attack with something is one less thing that you can just completely tap out their board.
I'm like, I'm leaning towards B honestly, because two,
Yeah, I
three,
think this
four of
guy's
these on
gonna
the
be
field.
fun. It doesn't get around. Um, it doesn't get around vehicles.
Oh, that is the thing. That is
So
the
if you're
thing.
playing vehicles, they can just use whatever you tap in response. So it might be correct to like tap out something smaller.
Vehicles for the sideboard against this, to be honest. That's
Yeah,
weird. That's a
if
weird.
you're getting tapped down, bring in a vehicle because you can just crew in response.
Vehicles are an answer to strong offense, oftentimes, because how vehicles work is even if they're planning on swinging in with a bunch of stuff, well, removing your blocker and swinging in, vehicles mean no. I'm gonna tap my blocker that you just tried to remove, and vehicle comes in. That's why vehicles slow down the game. I
I
think
think
I'll
this
go to
guy's
B minus because you did say the vehicle thing, and there are a lot of vehicles.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a solid C plus, trending to B minus. I think that these cars and multiples could just totally go off.
It won't be fun to play against. Here we have Intercessor's Arrest. I'm not sure what that means. 2 and a white. It's an enchantment aura, and it enchants a permanent. Enchanted permanent can't attack, block, or crew vehicles. Its activated abilities cannot be activated unless they're mana abilities. So basically, only triggered abilities are gonna work.
Yeah. Again, another Kaladesh flashback.
Yeah.
Um, Revoke privileges, which is a really good card.
Oh yeah. I remember that. So what do you think? It's solid removal.
I think it's pretty solid removal. Um,
Yeah, these usually get like C plus B minus. Is there any? I think B minus is it's gonna hit a lot of relevant stuff. I think.
yeah, I think I'm gonna give B minus, and then like it's an enchantment that's gonna be very hard to get rid of for your opponent.
Oh, there's a bit more enchantment removal that's gonna be main boarded though, so maybe
It's
that's your
true. That
knock
does
on
make
it.
this a little bit worse. Main boarding enchantment removal hits everything. Hits this.
And it's also come to think of it, I think I'm even lower because if you're against aggro, Samurai's passive abilities are still gonna work. Like you put this on a passive ability Samurai that buffs a solo attacker, and their text is still relevant for another thing that attacks. It's actually worse for that
It's still a pretty unconditionally like
removal.
taking out something that could be huge, just nullifying it.
So for against aggro, I like this less. It takes out vehicles. Okay, it's removal, and we're talking about limited, so okay, I'll say B minus still. It's hard. It was hard to. I went from B to like B minus to C plus to B minus. B minus average. What did you give it?
B minus.
Ah, All right.
This is Befriending the Moths, another saga. 3 and a white for a saga at common. It has the 1 and 2 chapters. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. The third is exile this saga and return it, and you get an Imperial Moth, um, which is a 2/4 flyer.
Insect. Yeah.
Cool.
Wow, that's weird. 4 mana to affect the board a little bit on the first turn, a little bit on the second turn. This is a hard card to judge, and the creature is obviously not that impressive, but it's gonna be there in 3 turns.
Yeah, a couple buffs and definitely a late game card. But if you're doing the samurai thing, it's probably fine.
4 mana. Yeah, it's true. It does buff the samurais that attack alone. 4 mana. I wish it was like 3 mana. Is it too strong if it's 3 mana? I feel like
3
it's
mana would be pretty strong.
common saga. I think it's not going to be highly taken. If you want to get in for flying surprise damage twice, this is going to be better. But I think you have to be aggro. This is like an aggro saga, to be honest. The first 2 things are aggro saga telling me. Then there's
Yeah,
a
I
defensive
think it's like
creature.
it's like if you're really making your curve low, you can put it in and kind of as one of your finishers.
I don't think it's going to be highly
It's minus.
sought after. I can't see this being highly sought after. It's probably like a B plus in my mind. It's neat.
Yeah, definitely neat card.
One thing to note also, they see in sagas they see what's coming, so they can hold their instant removal for the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's a removal for a different card, and you still get the 2/4. Maybe I'm too harsh on it. I think I'll give it C minus on second thought. Sagas just have the innate ability of getting you like several things for 1 cost, so it's probably a bit higher. Yeah, it's probably C minus in my mind. What did you give it?
C minus.
Right, cool. So we have Repel the Vile. It's a 4 mana instant, 3 and a white, and you choose one: destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, or exile target enchantments. Sorry, it's not destroy. It's exile from both of them.
So it's generally the first effect comes in at like 3 or 4 mana, but now it has exile target enchantment as well.
That's gonna be exile target creature a whole lot in white. Like black usually gets unconditional exile at 4 instant or so.
Yeah, this is Wanderer's Strike from Ikoria with also the other clause.
Oh no, proliferate. That's all.
And I think she's still doing it. I think could that be the Empress
Not.
back there still
It could
slashing
be.
stuff?
Not sure. This art reminds me. Is it Bone to Ash?
Yeah, it's also got a skeleton in the same position.
Yeah. So what do we think
Bone to
about it?
Ash.
I'm googling it. Oh yeah, my memory is
Oh,
good.
it's flipped.
So I think this is good. You're sad when you can't do the 4 or greater, but those are the things you usually want to get rid of. And the downside is you have to wait till an enchantment hits the field, which you can even exile a saga if it's gonna kill you. I like it. I think
I
it's
think it's
like B
like
minus. No, maybe
B minus.
I think B actually.
This
Wait,
is
4 mana.
B.
Wait, 4 mana.
No, it's 4 mana.
Yeah, to remove a creature 4 mana. It it doesn't work against aggro. That's the downside of it. Maybe I'll give it B minus. It doesn't work against aggro for a couple of reasons.
I'm giving this a C. I think it's good. I think it's overcosted. It might be dead in many situations.
4 mana removal. It used to be that 5 mana black cards that were sorcery removal were just like the fine cards we take. This is instant. So you
There's
just don't.
matchups in which this might be completely dead.
Yeah, aggro. Yeah, that's the problem. I guess it depends how many random 2/3 drops that are also enchantments there are on the opponent's side. But I think there's enough of them. I think I'll give it B minus. It is weird for a
You're
common
going to
removal.
straight B.
No, it'd be minus. Oh, I was thinking,
Yeah,
yeah, it's bad against aggro, which you want it to be good against aggro too.
yeah. I think it has less of a fail case than that card typically does. The Seven Tail Mentor, 3 and a white for a 2/3 Fox Samurai creature. When Seven Tail Mentor enters the battlefield or dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control.
Yeah, it's a lot like the Gavin thing in Midnight Hunt,
Gavin,
but it's when it dies or enters. So it's the very base is a 3 mana 3/4, and if you have no other creatures on the field, that's all you got, and has a death
4
trigger.
mana 3/4.
4 mana 3/4 that has a death trigger. Um, this is like not priority to put in your deck. I don't think it's fine.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's its floor almost seems better than Gavany Silversmith, but I like Gavany Silversmith because putting 2 counters on something is a pretty big swing. And if it was just like 1 counter, I'd be like, it's pretty dorky. And I think this thing's kind of dorky.
It's kind of dorky. It's definitely replaceable. That's what I'm thinking. It's just going to be like D plus pick level probably. I don't see too much synergy with 1/1 counters outside of the modified.
It does
Well,
modify things.
it is a samurai. Maybe making your attacking alone thing 1/1 better is something. Maybe I'll go to C minus probably. I don't know.
I'm
It
gonna keep the
depends.
plus in there.
It depends on if if that aggro deck's gonna work. It's really what I'm.
Yeah, it's certainly eminently playable. Like it's not a bad card.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. It's somewhere C minus D plus depending on how it works out. Next we have Sunblade Samurai. It's a 5 mana, so it's a 4 and a white. It's a 4/4 enchantment creature, human samurai, vigilance, and it has channel. 2 colorless. You can discard it. Search your library for a plains and reveal it. Put it into your hand and gain 2. So these white cards that look for mana is always only plains. You're only allowed plains, no fixing.
I like this card.
I think it's actually great for a curve topper. It's 5 mana 4/4 vigilance, something that has to be dealt with usually, and the fail safe is you're missing your land drop. Go get 2 life and a land.
Yeah, I think that my like baseline for these like 5 mana 4/4s is like Bitterbow sharpshooters, which have vigilance and reach, I think.
Oh yeah,
Like that card was a house. And so this vigilance doesn't have reach, but you can channel it, so it
it's like plane cycling and gain 2 life. And actually, what I noticed, importantly, it's 2 colorless. So if you don't have white mana, this searches your white mana.
yeah, it fixes you. It's an enchantment and a samurai. I think it's got a lot of little stuff that you will be totally fine playing it. It's gonna smooth things out a little bit for you, which is not gonna be flashy ever. You're not gonna be like drop it and playing a bomb, but it's just gonna do enough for you that I think it's totally fine.
You choose this as your thing attacking alone. It's good to have vigilance on it. It's like a nice beefy blocker even if you attack.
Yeah,
I actually think it's really good because of the channel. It's good. It has more than uses than just being a curve topper with vigilance. So I think it's C plus actually. And
cool.
enchantment.
Yeah, I think C trending to C plus. I'm not giving it C plus because you're not like tossing a ton of these in.
It's I like the curve smoother aspect of it. So last card
I know
here.
I'm gonna like this
The last comment.
card. Imperial Oath, 5 and a white for a sorcery at common. Create 3/2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance. Scry 3.
We don't get scry 3 on a card very often. That's scry 3. I'm not
Oh
that
man.
impressed by this card because I like the idea of having 3 different things to be the one thing attacking on a turn. Like one dies, then you can swing with the other one dies, swing with the other. But it's 6 mana. There's other things to be doing in this day and age of Magic to before you get to 6 mana, then do this.
6 mana, 6/6. It's totally on rate.
You need yeah, you get enough for the 6, but what are we doing with 3/2/2s? It's not go wide is the
Buster
opposite.
Samurai.
Go wide is the opposite of the idea for this color pair. They're not enchantments for enchantment. I don't know what it's doing in the set really. Like I don't know what it synergizes with.
Well, I mean the signpost gives.
Oh yeah. Signpost is. I guess it gives more attack. Yeah, extra attack. Do you want this as a
Yeah,
curve
we haven't
topper?
seen. I think it's totally fine as a curve topper.
Actually, this Gride 3 sells the curve topper bit of quite a lot because if you get rid of 3 lands and put them on the bottom, it's like huge actually.
Yeah, I mean this is like Falconcraft Celebrants, right? Like it's like you're top of the curve and then you just like bin whatever you don't want.
Yeah, my problem is you get these 3 samurais. They just have a 5/6 vehicle waiting to block anything. What are you doing then?
Yeah, but you have 3 bodies to buff or to put equipment on or to do.
That's the
Having it
best
spread
part of
out,
it.
I think, is.
That's the best part of it. I think you can attack with one big thing. If it gets blocked and dies, you can do it on the next, on the next. That's where it's going to be best.
You're obviously not stacking your deck with Imperial Oaths, but like.
Yeah, for that you want 1. You never want 2, right? So how high can you pick it? I mean, maybe you want 2, but I don't think. I think it goes down significantly after the first one. I'm not going to take it that highly. I don't think. Like, I think it's like D plus. I think they're going to be last in the pack often. I don't see a go wide like. I don't see too much for going wide here.
I think I'm gonna give it a C.
Okay. I don't know. That's the fun part about doing it before we play with it. Play with the cards. Now uncommons here. We have a bunch of uncommons for white. First one is Hotshot Mechanic. It's 1 white. Artifact creature Fox Pilot. And it's just got the pilot text, which is it crews vehicles as though it had 2 or greater power, so 4.
I mean, I guess if you're aggro 1 mana 2/1, you're fine with. But do you really care about piloting that much?
Yeah, you really don't care unless you're piloting like the Azorius deck, I guess. There's the pilot. The things get piloted with crew cost of like 1, 2, or 3 most often now, so it's not even that great of text to be honest. So it crews up to 4. It's all right.
It crews for 4.
But what even has crew 4 on it? I've seen like 1, 2, and 3. Maybe we'll see something more now.
Okay.
Maybe we'll
I
see.
initially read 2 or greater. Okay, so this becomes like way more of a build around then. Okay, that makes it. I think that this is yeah. This is a build around. If you have something that you're crewing for, like sure.
Even I mean, it's not like vehicles can't be crewed by 2 creatures if you really need it. It's not like I don't know. I don't think this is too valuable. Ever.
I'm gonna give it build around C plus to B minus.
Oh, I think actually the fact that it's an artifact might be because the Orzhov deck wants artifacts for no cost, and this is like a no cost artifact that you're just putting in your deck. So I probably give it like C minus. I don't think it's like fantastic pickup. The crew part is like I don't think you're gonna have too much trouble crewing your stuff if you have creatures. What did you give that one?
C minus.
All right, so
Got vehicles. I think it'll help out. This card I like a lot. Banishing Slash. White for a sorcery at uncommon. Destroy up to 1 target artifact, enchantment, or tapped creature. Then, if you control an artifact or an enchantment, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance.
This has the destroy artifact or enchantment. If it just said that, it would probably be still very usable in this set, but it also has tapped creatures, so you're like, the only downside is the white cost, but that's not even bad at all, because you're not playing this on turn 2 very often anyway. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially a sorcery speed. Kill lots of stuff.
It's a Chupacabra
And
for
if you
2.
have some,
A Vigilance
and if you have
Chupacabra
some
for
stuff,
2.
you get it.
And Chupacabra's amazing, what the?
Yeah, it has to be tapped, though. It
Yeah.
does have to be tapped.
Or just be an artifact or an enchantment.
Yeah, it's going to hit not everything, but it's going to hit lots of stuff.
I'm giving this,
And
yeah,
you make a 2/2 if you have some stuff out there.
I think it's arguably in this set better than Chupacabra for 2 mana instead of 4.
Yeah,
I
its
got it.
versatility is really high.
I'm gonna give it B plus, I think.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Do I want to give
Like,
it A-? No, you have to be in white. You have to be in white, right? No, you don't even have to. No. B. I was like A minus. No, it's just removal and a 2/2. No, B plus. I
it
think for
doesn't
removal
necessarily give you cards.
to get into A range, it's gotta be like spectacular. Like
Yeah, I do think this card is potentially first pickable though.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So B plus for that removal card. Now we have Michiko's. It's me. Reign of Truth.
Michiko's Reign of Truth.
It is 1 and a white. Target creature gets 1/1/1 until end of turn for each artifact and/or enchantment you control. That happens twice, and then it turns into Portrait of Michiko. It's not me anymore. It's a human noble 0/0 that gets 1/1 for each artifact and enchantment you control. So it wants you to have artifacts and enchantments, which is where random artifacts, creatures are going to come in handy. So, what do you think?
Well, it's definitely going to get +1/+1, which is basically I guess the 4 mana thing is flying, so it's +1/+1 because it counts itself. If you have tons of artifact creatures, I mean this could make something really, really big.
This is a clear build around for me because very low ceiling, very low floor, very high ceiling. You can give +8/+8, which is good night. Or it
Yeah,
can just be garbage that doesn't do anything for the board. So I think clear build around for me. It could get to C plus. I'd give it C plus in the right deck. I'm not gonna.
yeah. I think that it's gonna be like a build around like B minus because I think there's so many artifacts and enchantment creatures running around that like it's just gonna reward you for building your board out.
Yeah, actually, you're right. It's gonna be a huge creature. Come to think of it, if you build around it. So the build around grade actually goes way up. It's gonna be like 8/8 for 2 mana. It's gonna be no. It could very well be like 6/6 for 2 mana. 3, 7, and got two triggers off of it too. Yeah, you know what? Build around B for me. It's actually a whole lot for 2 mana if you build around it.
Yeah,
It's no slam it on turn 2 thing, but
I think regularly it's gonna be like a C plus. The thing is, I don't think you're gonna just grab this card and stick it in your deck if you're
no. I think black
don't
white
have payout for it.
specifically is where this is gonna shine.
Yeah.
All right, next card.
Selfless Samurai. This is 1 and a white for a 2/2 Fox Samurai at uncommon. As whenever a samurai or you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink until end of turn. You can also sacrifice this Selfless Samurai. Another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn.
It's awesome. The trigger alone
Sure.
is great because it's gonna be
Yeah.
a huge life swing, and it protects. And we talked about how good protection is gonna probably be when you're loading up one creature.
hmm
I'm
Yeah, I
impressed by
think
the white
because it
uncommons.
gives it lifelink, it's going to be hard for this is potentially going to represent a pretty big life swing if you have something that's big and hitting, and it gets a free lifelink hit. It also attacks as a 2/2 lifelinker by itself.
Yeah, by if it's not being buffed by other passive stuff, you just got a 2/2 lifelinker. It's on your turn kind of thing. We've seen a couple times. Lifelink on your turn, pseudo lifelink on your turn. I like yeah, I like this. I like the white uncommon so far. This is like B minus for me. Maybe B. Maybe I think B. This protecting something is good, and you don't even need that for this to be good. And it's a 2 mana 2/2 at very rare. I think it's like B level.
I think for like C plus, I think.
Right. Next we got Blade Blizzard Kitsune. It's 2 and a white, 2/2, Fox Ninja. Oh, Ninja and a white, okay. And it has double strike, and it also has ninjutsu, so you can pay 3 and a white to return another unblocked creature to your hand, and this comes down and double strikes them as an attacker.
Yeah. I see that 1/1 flyer just coming in.
For 4. You have to pay extra, notably, for this ninjutsu. Often they pay less, sometimes the same, but this one you pay extra. It's because it's hitting for 4, which it's not going to be a buffed 4. Like, you can't buff this. There's some ways maybe you can buff this at instant speed, but it's going to hit for 4.
Yeah, four damage isn't. So you don't get anything great except for 4 damage.
You actually
But
lose out on the first strike, like on a blocked creature. That
no.
like this is going to be unblocked every time if you ninjutsu it in. Is what I'm saying. So it's not like you get to kill their X2.
Oh, you mean like to strike something? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make bad quote unquote bad blocks on the turn you ninjutsu it in.
Yeah.
But what do we think? 3 mana 2/2 first strike, just baseline. Sorry, double strike baseline. That's good.
You can though kill something with this and then switch it for another ninjutsu creature.
Oh, this first strikes, and then you ninjutsu something else. In white,
Yeah, you
I don't
kill
know
something and then you.
what is ninjutsu doing on a white creature anyway. I'm just like weird. It's the first time.
I think every color does have ninjas.
Oh, oh, with ninjutsu on them. Okay, so you can
Mm-hmm.
mix it with a black or a blue deck. It makes sense. But it just baseline double strike 2/2 for 3 is good.
Yeah, totally fine, right?
I think you want to play this fairly often compared to the ninjutsu since it costs more for the ninjutsu. Yeah, you get 4 damage in, but I don't see this being bad at all playing it on turn 3.
Yeah, is C plus ish.
C plus or how do we think a 3 mana 2/2? I want to give it B minus. I think just if it's at first strike and no ninjutsu, I'd say that's like C plus. If it just had
Oh,
first
he
strike.
says double strike.
Yeah,
That's
if it was a 3 mana, because in Strixhaven we saw 3 mana 2/2 first strike. Uh, that got buffed with Magecraft or whatever. It's just like meh, but this is double strike. That's
yeah.
like
This
C
trades up
level.
for 4 drops
Double
at
strike
baseline.
is no joke if you buff it up with anything.
Yeah, I think it would be a C plus for just being first strike, but yeah.
Notably, it's not a samurai or warrior because that would be busted if it got to attack alone double strike. They did a good job on that. But I think B minus.
I hope there's a card that makes something a samurai. That would be fun. Like you reconfigure and now you're a samurai.
This is tough to block on the field just alone. Might it be a secret B? No, I think let's say B. Say B minus for now. It could be a secret B by the time the set's over.
This is Born to Drive. Is he getting in the pilot of a mech? I hope so.
Oh, a hand. It's like
Um,
the hand of a mech or something.
and yeah, I think
So what does it do here? Chat.
um, it's 2 and a white for an enchantment or an uncommon. As enchant artifact or creature, as long as the enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1 for each creature and/or vehicle you control. And it has channel for 2 and a white. Discard Born to Drive. Create 2/1/1 colors pilot creature tokens with This creature creates vehicles as though its power were 2 or greater.
Okay, so you get 2 pilots for the channel. That's very decent. So it's either you get 2 pilots for the channel, which is fine, or you get to make one creature big, scaling with how many creatures and vehicles you have. Or you make a vehicle big. It's pretty versatile.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't fall off of an artifact, a vehicle, once it becomes a non-creature, because it says enchant artifact or creature, so it's going to stay on there.
Yeah, it will fall off a reconfigure. No, it won't
No, because
either.
those are artifacts. Yeah, they thought of that. If it was just the aura part, that's the kind of card you just don't usually play. The channel makes it viable. The fact that they're pilots doesn't mean that much, I don't think. This is solid. I think it's like C, right in the don't mind playing it category.
Yeah, I mean it's uh like it seems pretty reminiscent to all the glitters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
But this has got the channel clause, which I like a lot when you're talking about format.
but it has an out. I
Imagine
think I
just
like this.
imagine buffing like a big vehicle with this, and they don't have an answer. It's gonna be game over soon.
It's yeah, very tough to deal with vehicles sometimes. I think it's gonna be a B minus ish. You could get blown out. Blown out potential is theoretically high.
Okay, I'll say C for now. See how the format plays out. Depends on how vehicles are gonna be. A few more uncommons here. We have Imperial Recovery Unit, which is 2 and a white. It's a 3/4 artifact vehicle. Whenever Imperial Recovery Unit attacks, return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand as crew 2. It's like a bird vehicle thing. So it's got to attack to get that value, and the value has to be a setup. Setup with, I guess it's going to be a creature in your graveyard, not a vehicle with 2 or less value, but so you gotta work for your value on your 3/4 vehicle. That seems not amazing.
Yeah, I don't think it's amazing either. Can potentially get some value out. Yeah, so many of these cards are. I mean, they seem good, but they're depending on having reasonable attacks.
If you think about the stat line, it's like a stat line of a rare. Obviously, you have to crew it first, but that's why I think this might be a defensive set, because if you're trying to be aggro and they slam a 3/4 that they can crew, well, you're not getting through very easily without losing something.
Yeah,
But I don't think it's amazing. We've seen vehicles play out. This is probably one of the skippable ones.
I'm thinking it's C maybe.
I would probably say C minus. I don't think you're gonna get the value off the attack trigger very often, or very. It's not gonna do that much.
Sure.
Right, next we have a legendary creature.
Yeah, Norika Yamazaki, the poet, 2 and a white for a 3/2 legendary creature, human samurai. That uncommon has vigilance, and whenever a samurai warrior you control attacks someone, you may cast target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn.
Mm-hmm. It's another trigger, a different kind of trigger for attacking alone. One that gives you card advantage if you set it up. It doesn't help in combat, which is weird. So you want a enchantment card in your graveyard, which is going to be a saga a lot. I guess if your saga creature died, get more value there. I think that's where it's going to be best if your saga's in the graveyard. Doesn't have to be.
Well, so I don't know if I mean I guess we've looked to see if there's any enchantment creatures, but theoretically you could just like if this guy's out there and you have an enchantment card that attacks, hopefully it's a samurai or warrior. If there's probably a combo with it. You can just keep attacking with it, cast it, attack with it, cast it, attack with it, cast with it. Right? if there's
No,
anything.
you may cast target. No. This trigger goes on the stack. You have to target an enchantment in your graveyard, and
This
then
turn.
yeah, but it says you may cast target enchantment. So when this trigger goes on the stack, you got to target an enchantment in your graveyard, and then damage happens.
Oh, that's right. So you'd have to have two. You'd have to
Anyway, it's
cycle.
probably not hard to get enchantments in your graveyard. That being said, you want stuff that matters, and I don't think it's hard to make that matter at all. Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
there's gonna be
creatures.
enough.
This is good for an uncommon like B. I'd say it's B.
Yeah, I think it's a B2 because yeah, I think very often you're at least gonna be able to get it's a 3 mana 3/2 with vigilance.
It's nice to see this attacks alone with the samurai or warrior not be like a combat enhancer, and it's like a card advantage. It's nice that they have that.
Yeah, I agree on B.
All right, the Fall of Lord Konda. It's a saga for 2 and a white. Exile target creature card an opponent. To exile target creature an opponent controls with mana greater than 4. And then in step 2 is enchant. Sorry, each player gains control of all permanents they own, whatever. And then it flips into Fragment of Konda, which is a 1/3 defender. When it dies, draw a card. Interesting. It's an interesting card all
Whoa.
around. It's mainly like a 3 mana removal, to be honest. And a card back eventually. What do you think?
Well, its ceiling's really high because it's kill a thing, kill something with the dude, trade it, whatever, then draw a card.
Eventually, yeah, when it dies. And I mean, everyone's gonna have a 4 CMC or greater in their deck somewhere.
Oh, it's mana value for a greater?
Yeah, and creature.
Yeah.
Still, the step 2 we
I
can
think
ignore
this,
completely.
yeah, I think that the downsides of this like exile 4x or greater is really offset by um, you know, you're eventually gonna get a 3/2 or sorry, a 1/3 that gets you a card back.
Yeah, they have to attack into it, but it's not that hard to get a card back from it. Or you sack it.
I
You
think
get
it's
2 cards for
there.
1, and you destroy something of value for them. Usually, might have to wait for that to happen. You're not slamming this on turn 3 just because there's no target. Although I probably will at some point during the format if they steal
Yeah,
something.
I think it's an always include.
I'm happy to take this at probably B.
Yeah, I think it trends towards B plus. I think I'm gonna give it a B plus.
The removal and I'll stick with B for now. Just I don't know why. No reason. It's the when it dies part. I
You've
want it
already
now.
killed something
I
with
want
it.
it now. Yeah, I know. That's why it's B. You get a card back later. I would say it's like B minus if you don't get the. I don't know. I just feel like B could be B plus. I wouldn't be surprised if it reaches that. Yeah. So next card we have an enchantment here.
Touch the spirit realm. That's 2 and a white for enchantment and uncommon. When touch the spirit realm enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature until touch the spirit realm leaves the battlefield and has channel for 1 and a white. A discard touch the spirit realm, exile target artifact or creature, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you can channel it to blink something.
So it's Oblivion Ring. But there's a lot of enchantment removal. To offset that downside, you have the channel, which can turn into a save my creature or get another ETB effect. Yeah, so there's downside to an upside compared to a normal Oblivion Ring. It's probably the same as Oblivion Ring in the end. Yeah, because their creature coming back because they have enchantment removal is never fun when you Oblivion Ring something away. I like the save a creature aspect of channel. What do you think?
I think it's got a lot of modes and it's exile enchantment based removal tends to play well, especially in BO1 or if in just League, this is gonna I think this is going to be good in Sealed League because how common is enchantment removal going to be in a 60 card deck, main deck? Probably not super high.
I guess we'll have to see the rest of the cards before we see how much incidental enchantment removal there is. But I'm happy to give this B, like just right in the middle of I want to play it. And
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. Right, 3 more white uncommons here. It is Go Shintai of Shared Purpose. It's a first shrine, costs 3 and a white. So shrines are a cycle that they have in every Kamigawa block. I think there's like a couple other cycles out there, not mistaken. So 1/3 vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 colorless, and if you do, you create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine you control. The spirits don't have flying or anything like the last set we saw. And I will say that this entire cycle has, at the beginning of your end step, you may pay blank to do blank for each shrine you have. So that's, and all the shrines are creatures, which is different from the past. What do you think?
I like this guy. I think, it's going to hang around, make a 1/1, make a 1, I like things that have very small mana costs for potentially big effects. If they can't get around to, sometimes a 1/1 every turn can save you a game in a
Yeah,
tight spot until you draw something out.
the stat line is a little underwhelming because I've seen the other shrines, and this one's a little underwhelming compared to the other, just because of the stat line. The other ones, this is Vigilance 1/3, which is like, what's that doing? That being said, the ability's good. And we should say this for all the shrines. They get better in multiples, so they get exponentially better in multiples for obvious reasons. That's how they work. I wouldn't take this extremely highly unless other shrines. I think it's something like C, because I'm just underwhelmed by the stat line. Something like C and goes way up, like B plus if you've got another shrine, or B plus range if you got another shrine.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it B minus. I think it's gonna work really well.
Do we give this build around grade? It's not exactly build around. It's weird. I'd say build. I call it build around B plus, but they're all gonna get build around B plus or so. But in general, I think I'd give it C if no other shrines are gonna be picked up. So your draft will depend on when you see this.
Yeah.
All right, big combat trick here.
Yeah, when we were young, 3 and a white for an instant and uncommon. Up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control an artifact and an enchantment, these creatures also gain a lifelink until end of turn.
That's a lot of life gain potential.
Yeah. I think this is pretty good. The buff 2 creatures thing usually works pretty good as a combat trick.
4 mana trick is hard to convince me to play that. That's the one thing.
Sure. And it
One,
doesn't have like a blowout potential.
yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna take this too highly. I think, but if I'm doing the enchantment and artifact thing, I'll take it higher. But I think it's probably C minus or something like that. Otherwise,
Yeah, I'm just gonna give it a C, I think.
okay. Last uncommon here for white. We have Sky Blessed Samurai. It's 6 and a white. It's a 4/4 flyer. It's an enchantment creature, human samurai, so that matters. But it costs 1 colorless less for each enchantment you control, so it can come down a lot earlier than turn 7.
Well, there you go. 2 of these and that vigilance lady, and you've got eternal recursion. Affinity for enchantment says 4/4 flyer.
It's gonna feel unfair if this comes down on turn 3 or 4. It's gonna. That's obviously the best case scenario, but there are enchantments everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably gonna be good, I'd say. 4/4 flyer, that wins games. If it doesn't even have to come down early, I can just win games. What do you think you should rate this one?
I expected this is going to be good.
We don't want to load our deck with 7-drops, but it ain't a 7-drop in a lot of situations. And if you're really trying, it's like 3-drop. I think it's probably good, so I think I'd give this B- or so. You obviously need enchantments.
Yeah, like how often are you going to get a D cost to be like a 4-mana 4/4? That's I think my main question.
We only saw white so far, but I'm guessing white green. Super easy, I'm guessing. Because you build your own deck, you can have all but 2 of your permanents be enchantments, I think. A lot of the time. Maybe not. Maybe fairly often.
Yeah, it only counts enchantments. It's not. I think it's going to be
Human Samurai, by the way. Human Samurai.
B-.
B-? That's what I said. Samurai 2, just for the record.
Yeah.
If
We'll see.
the color doesn't work out, it's going to be a lot worse. But we can say that all day. Alright, so on to the rares.
This is March of Otherworldly Light. X and a white for an instant at rare. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile any number of white cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled. This way, exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less.
So it's
Flexible
just
removal.
Super flexible removal, yeah. Artifact, creature, enchantment.
Yeah, and you can even burn yourself to kill something.
So this is part of a cycle where you get to pay X and you can throw cards away for that. It's weird that this is just... It gets better. Like, I don't want to throw away cards, basically. You're removing one card. You don't want to throw away cards. The other cards in the cycle, maybe. But it's super flexible removal, as you said. So I think it's good. It's something I'm happy to have in the deck.
Yeah, A minus, I think, actually.
I probably say B. I probably say B plus. Yeah, I'm not that excited about. Yeah, I just say B plus. I don't think a removal 1-for-1 gets an A range. And we have Light Pause Emperor. Sorry, Light Pause. It's getting late. Light Pause, comma Emperor's Voice. 1 and a white. It's a 2/2 legendary creature. Fox Advisor. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with mana value less than or equal to that aura, and with a different name than each aura you control. So you can't grab something you already control. Put that card onto the battlefield to Light Pause Emperor's Voice, then shuffle. So I think that's a bit of a constructed thing where you can't grab one you already grabbed.
It's a commander thing.
Oh yeah, well you don't have any doubles in Commander, so you wouldn't.
I think it's more of a. I guess you could put it in standard auras or whatever. But
in Commander, you wouldn't be able to grab something with the same name ever. So
yeah, so that works in Commander really well. But and for limited, I mean, I think if you're making auras,
this comes with an aura attached to it, right? You play this, you look for your battlefield. Oh, sorry, it's not what it is at all. You play this.
No, you have to
play
have another aura.
So that's set up, and otherwise it's a 2-mana 2/2 if you don't have any aura to cast at all.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the trick is that you cast the removal aura or whatever, and then you search out something 2-mana and pump up your dude.
Yeah, tutor for an aura and attach, which is pretty.
It's a strong effect.
Floor 2-mana 2/2. So what is a 2-mana 2/2 normally? Like C- if it had no text at all.
Yeah, but I would. Are there that strong auras that you're grabbing this guy, like to build, like pack one to build around?
We saw some Nothing like, oh my god, I have to have that. But we don't know the other colors necessarily. I'd say this
Yeah.
is probably like B minus or C plus. It just depends on the auras you're likely to pick up. Because you get
I think it's worse.
a free tutor. If you play any aura, you tutor onto this, and this attacks with that aura on it, right? This attacks as like a
Yeah,
5/5 or a 6/6
it's a lot of
setup.
in a draft deck. It's a lot of setup and build around it, and
Yeah, that's the
you know,
best case scenario. But I'm not. It can't go solo. It can't go like. I'm thinking. I'm thinking C plus or D minus. I think C plus. That's all. In the unlimited C plus.
yeah, I think it's a C with the build around B minus.
Maybe there are auras at common that we're not thinking of that we haven't seen yet. It could depend on that. Like the arrest is an aura, right? Like
Yeah, but so you have to have one in your hand. You have to have this guy.
yeah. Well, at any point in the game, this sticks on the battlefield and whatever. It doesn't do anything until you draw your aura. It's not that hard. It's not like they're hitting this with removal, and if they do, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll say C plus.
it's a 2/2. You can play it.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't think it's going to be a lot of work to get it to be
Yeah,
good.
you don't
But it
want to
might work.
load your deck. You don't want to load your deck with auras. That's the bottom line, actually, because like you have at least two for that to get any value. And if you draw the less expensive one, actually, it doesn't actually work at all. So probably C plus. Won't get into the B range. Is it my turn? Lion Sash. 1 in white. 1/1. It's an artifact, a creature, equipment cat. So it has the activated ability 1 white. You can exile target card from a graveyard. If this was a permanent card, put a 1/1 counter on Lion Sash. And then equipped creature gets 1/1 for each 1/1 counter on Lion Sash. And has reconfigure too. It's our first time we're seeing reconfigure, so it's basically an equipment. You can pay 2 colorless at sorcery speed to attach or unattach this from a creature. And if it's unattached, it's a creature. If it's attached to something, it just works as an equipment.
Yeah, this thing is fantastic. It's basically a scavenging ooze that can't gain life because that's Green's
First single white.
job.
Any permanent card, so no instant sorceries, but lands that can hit.
Um, and then you can just attach it onto something else. It gets +1 for each +1 counter on it, and then yeah, so you can give it to whatever can attack, and then if that thing dies, it just becomes a creature again.
It's
Very flexible.
It actually gives +0/+0 if you haven't done the thing yet. Funny enough, it just
Well,
does
you
not.
have threat of activation. That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
I was gonna say that you can threat of activation like 4 times or something, depending on the situation. Yeah, you obviously need permanents in graveyards. Any graveyard, that's good.
Yeah, but there's a lot of recursion that we've seen already in white, and so I just think that this thing is gonna, like I would play any 2 mana thing that would just start pumping itself and exiling some stuff from graveyards.
Yeah. This you want to remove this, and that means you're pointing your removal spell at a 1/1. That's getting bigger and can threat of activation even higher. It's like the only limiting factor is stuff in graveyard, so it's not like early you can start growing this too quickly. I want to say like A. I was thinking A
Yeah,
minus, but
I
A.
think AI minus is where it's gonna be.
I'll just give it our first A of the set.
Yeah, I think this card is good. Next up, Cloudstill Kieran, 2 and a white for a artifact creature equipment Kieran, another artifact creature. It's a 3/2 with flying, and it says equipped creature has flying, and you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. Reconfigure 5.
This is the ultimate kill it when it's not an equipment anymore card. So you want to double remove.
I was not expecting like the Platinum Angel clause to come out there.
If you flood the board with creatures, good luck losing, because you can just always re-equip this. So they gotta go removal to get rid of this, right? Or just artifacts removal, I suppose.
Artifact removal. Yeah, I don't know if. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing this thing, that's when you grab all these little like piercing lights.
It's gonna be hard to attack with this if this is on your side and it looks like a safe attack, but your opponent's got mana up. You don't want to lose this by a stupid attack.
Yeah, this is something that if I drafted this, I'm like slamming this as a first pick and building around it and grabbing all these little like blinks and protections and whatever.
And then win
Because
by
if I
mill.
have this, I can't lose the game clause. It's gonna be good.
And you win by mill. That being said, it doesn't do that until you pay 5, which is somewhat hefty. It's 3/2 flyer though. I didn't even realize the flyer was on there. I think where do we want this 3/2? I think it's like A.
Yeah, I mean, it has the text. You can't lose the game on it.
I'm not even expecting that to like matter somewhat. I'm not even expecting that to matter so much. Like it's got like B plus level. It's got like B
Yeah,
level stats and everything with the flying 3/2 on its own, and the fact that it's can't lose the game. I think I'll give it A.
yeah, I like this card. A for me as well.
All right, we got the Restoration of Igandro. So it's a 2 and a white saga. Step 1 is search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand and shuffle. Step 2 is you may discard a card. When you do, return target permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And then it transforms into Architect of Restoration, which is a 3/4 Vigilance. Whenever it attacks or blocks, create a 1/1 Spirit.
I'm in for this.
It's a lot on the 3 mana saga here. All 3 of this. I'm interested in all 3 of the steps, which we don't say too often on the saga. It's a rare.
Yeah, so it gives you. I think it's good at point of reliable. So you grab a card from your deck, and it gives you the discard. So at its base, it's just like you can trade a plains in for a 2 mana permanent. Um,
I mean, if you're summoning on turn 3, you're not likely to have something to get, but whatever. That's just one. That's just step 2 of this 3 mana card. And then you have
yeah,
this. You only paid 3 mana for all this.
yeah. You're gonna get a 3 mana 3/4 that ensures you're hitting your land drops potentially in some situations. It has upsides.
I like 3 mana 3/4 that has vigilance because even if you're attacking into a bounce off my opponent's creature, you still getting a 1/1 out of it.
Yeah,
I think it's A also, to be honest.
this is an A level. I think it'll. Yeah.
Maybe it's a step under. The first 2
Mm,
are a little. I like it, but is it A level for the first 2? I think I'll give it A minus. I think because the second part might
yeah,
not even matter.
it's not even necessarily like so. Well, I guess can you discard something and then that's the separate step, right? So you discard. Can you just cheat it out? You put a 2 mana
Oh, it
saga
comes off
out.
the battlefield. I thought it went to your hand. I'll give it an A.
No, you just put a saga into play with this. I
I didn't even
think.
realize. I was thinking it was to your hand. Yeah, there's plenty of 2 mana sagas in several colors. I think. Yeah, so I'll give it A. Happy to play that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, if you if you have a saga, you just toss it out tapped. I mean,
The sagas are harder
uh,
to get in the graveyard than normal, but whatever. It's just part of it. Yeah. So what do we have here? Dragon
uh,
spirits.
this is Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa. 3 and a white for a legendary creature dragon spirit. Oh, has a Wooburg symbol in it. Has flash, flying. When Coyote, Soul of Kamigawa, enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Coyote. And then has Wooburg. Coyote gets +5/+5 until end of turn. Oof.
We don't have to pay attention to the Wooburg thing, but this kind of can win you 2 battles in one attack phase, which is pretty nice, and leaves you with a 3/3 flyer.
Yeah, I mean, a 3/3 flash flyer is usually 5 mana in my experience, so. And it can also get something indestructible.
It's surprisingly simple for just from a limited perspective, because the Wooburg part is not really relevant usually.
Yeah, I think it's probably designed for like you can include this in your like Tiamat or your Ur-Dragon deck or whatever for like a hey, this is my dragon, like that I can, you know.
Yeah, for
It's a
4 mana, you could even just save something from the removal.
yeah. I mean,
I like it at A again. Wow, it's like every card's an A, and
yeah, this is A, I believe.
the,
I,
the
I think
whites
it.
are like not like Vow, where it's like you lose if you don't answer it right away, but they're all solid.
Yeah, it's cool when there's a card that's like pretty good for limited, but also like, I mean, I think Commander, you can. There's cards that can just put dragons immediately out.
There's
Ideally, I think you need to be saving your commander or whatever.
yeah.
Invoke Justice.
Uh,
One
im-
white.
it was my turn, but it's okay.
Huh?
It was
Oh
my
yeah, yeah.
turn.
Go for
Yeah, like,
it.
am I reading it? Okay, awkward.
Yeah, justice. Justice be served.
One quad white. This is part of a cycle as well, where there's 4 mana symbols of the same color. It's a sorcery. Invoke Justice does return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then distribute 4 1/1 counters among any number of creatures and or vehicles target player controls. So reanimate something, put a bunch of counters places. Wow, it's a unique card.
Um. Hmm. There are powerful applications for this.
Are we looking at
Uh.
monocolor potential in this? Is this being a cycle, or is this or near monocolor decks?
Yeah, I think it's like in limited you can probably play it if you have like a heavier near monocolor deck. Um. Is it worth speculating on that?
This is
Probably.
Mega Raised Dead, but hard to cast. Mega Raised Dead.
Hard to cast. I mean, it's in a typical limited game. It's not generally super hard to get to 4 mana of your main color eventually.
I wanted
You
to
know,
say it's not as strong as the other cards we saw, but and then I'm looking at the 4 1/1 counters. I think because of the casting cost, it gets a notch down for me at A minus. I can't ignore that. I
yeah,
it's
it's a card that you might not be able to cast, but you are going to be controlling that when you pick it.
yeah. I think it's A minus for me. I don't know how the fixing is necessarily in this set, but without any help, 4 planes on the field is this big ask. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like mono, you're close to monocolored. I mean, it's
Yeah.
super strong, but if you're
I could see
and
people trying to push this into their deck when they're like mostly green, but they're like, I have some white.
yeah, be wary of it. I mean, in Sealed League, I'd probably play it because it's strong.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
this card, speaking of strong cards, Farewell.
like
Uh,
look at that art. It's just so simple.
so,
Everything.
this card is so good in multiple. It may be broken, but it's like super named and super like the art's amazing. 4 white for a sorcery at rare. Choose one or more. Exile all artifacts. Exile all creatures. Exile all enchantments. Exile all graveyards. And you can just choose all of them.
You can choose none of them. Oh, it says one or more. No, it says one or more. Never mind. Gotta choose one.
I mean, wow, it's a board wipe that.
It's exile too.
Yeah.
So the big white board wipe of the set, and yeah, it's flexible. Make it to your advantage. Sometimes it's gonna be trash for you. I mean, but then you just don't play it.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
board
gonna
wipes are
be. Sometimes your opponent
strong.
has enchantments and you don't. So I think it's like A.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give this an A plus. It's
It doesn't win you the game.
just
I don't think I can give it A plus just because those are like they don't win you the game. They just
too
uh
expensive.
no, you just can't. It's not a card that wins the game. It's just deals with a board. That's just the philosophy on what I give A plus to. It's not like
Mm.
not that you're wrong. It's removal, fancy-ish removal. Oh, four
All
color,
right,
four white.
I'll say
Brilliant.
A. You have so many modes of it though.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. Brilliant restoration. Also 4 planes and 3 colors. So it's a sorcery that says return all artifacts and enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Reanimates all of them. This is a big flashy card for our last rare here.
Oh, this is amazing.
A little setup
Uh,
cost for you to get your 7 mana worth. A little.
I am potentially so wrongly am going to play this card and build around it the second I see it. This is Harness Affinity times 2 for me. Oh yes.
How much better would this be if it said 6 and a white? That's my question.
I mean, it would be broken if it said 6 and a white, but
Still, equally as likely to play it though.
yeah, oh yeah, just a fun. This card is cool.
Yeah,
Is
artifacts
it good?
enchantments. Not hard to find as we've seen. Hopefully, by the time you want to play this, you have more than one in your graveyard or two.
Yeah, I think it's just the upside in it is ludicrous. I mean, you could just throw like 6 sagas down.
Wait, what's the ultimatum? Mardu? Was it the Mardu one? Brings back one of each named card or something like that
Yeah,
from Ikoria. Reminds me of that. It's probably
yeah, not
it's worse than that.
necessarily.
It's worse than
Seven
that.
mana is 7 mana is a lot in limited.
The
Uh,
ultimatum is also harder to cast than this, you could imagine.
yeah, it's four white pips though,
Yeah.
not trivial.
This is build around and probably something like B plus. I'd say if you build around it. Reason is even if you build all around it, you have to A be in a situation of spending 7 mana. That's hard to cast, and B have those things in the graveyard, and you don't get there all the time in limited, especially against aggro. It's
Yeah,
like
I mean,
yeah.
it seems flashy and cool, and it's fun, but like this is like this is like a card that people take in drafts and they're like, oh, this is so good. But imagine the times it sits in your hands for 7 turns
Yeah, you don't imagine
and you
those.
die on turn 6 with this card in your hand or whatever.
You know what? I'm even down. It's probably build around B plus because of the things you just said. Sorry, I said
Yeah,
B plus. Probably build around B. It's not like
yeah, because seven mana is hard to get to. You're typically not getting there until like turn what, like 10, 9 or 10.
this is gonna be the rare that's like past and like okay, maybe I'll somehow use that. It'll be there late in the pack. So build around B for me. And we
Yeah,
talked
I
about
agree.
her before.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I get to reveal the Wandering Emperor. So the Wandering Emperor, she's here, in her home plane. Bone, no, Bone to Ash. We like the Emperor. Oh, the Wanderer
There
is
you
what
go.
you. Um, really like this card and More of the Spark. Really like this card here. It's 2 white for a legendary Planeswalker at Mythic Rare. Has Flash, Flash Planeswalker.
First one, maybe?
Um,
No, maybe not.
I
I
think
don't
it's,
think so.
I think it's the first one. Um, and as long as the Wandering Emperor entered the battlefield this turn, you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you can cast an instant. So it has +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains first strike until end of turn. -1, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. Or -2, exile target tapped creature, and you gain 2 life.
This might be the craziest, flashiest, most complicated combat trick, because this flash ability and user things at instant speed, it's to get the combat trick out of this. Exile a thing, put a 2/2 blocker, give your thing first strike. It's very versatile. You can flash it end of turn just to surprise and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's you flash it end of turn, and even if you're minusing to make a 2/2, you can then minus. You have, basically 4/4 power on board, and
You can even use it to
like
just buff your attacking creature +1/+1 in first strike, like or ambush something with a 2/2 vigilance.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
very versatile.
it's combat trick on a planeswalker.
Yeah, I think she doesn't have. It'd be interesting if it had like an ultimate that you could get to pretty quickly, because then you're flashing it and starting to uptick it.
Yeah,
But
there's
definitely has the, like, you can just flash this in, plus it up, exile, plus it again. I mean, very,
yeah
I think, easy to keep keep her around and keep getting the value, exiling things.
yeah. It's weird that it has no ultimate. It's not like a lot of planeswalkers in a lot of ways. I gotta give this A.
I think so too.
Once it does the thing, it's gonna stop them from attacking with their best creature because of the exile, I guess. Other than that, it's
Yeah,
just like plus minus every other turn. It's good.
I wish it was 4 loyalty starting out. That would probably be too strong, I guess.
It kind of is because you flash it in and it's 4. That's the idea. It kind of is 4 loyalty to start if you do it on their turn, not on your turn.
Yeah, but if it was 4 starting out, you could just.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I give that A. A lot of them are
Can
A.
you do more than one a turn, or does
You can only
no?
do it
They
at
have an
instant speed if it came in that turn. So like
but
on the opponent's turn.
planeswalkers have, like, part of the rules say that you can only activate it once per turn,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And last mythic here. Is it my turn? I think so.
Yep.
Ayo, the Dawn Sky. It's 3 white white 5/4. Legendary creature, Dragon Spirits. So another cycle, Dragon Spirits, which comes. They did that in the original Kamigawa. It has flying and vigilance, and every Dragon Spirit has flying and a keyword, and 2 different triggers that you get to choose when it dies. So in this case, it's look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put any number of non-land permanent cards, the total mana value 4 or less among them from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Or put 2 1/1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or vehicle. Not 1, 2 counters on all your creatures. So either one of these are just fine. You'll be sad if this gets exiled, but you're still pretty well off if it gets destroyed or exiled on the next turn or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an Ava Brook caretaker or a breakfast demon, but it's pretty close. Pretty good.
Yeah, both. I mean, if you have no creatures, the choose 2/1/1 counters thing is whatever. So you choose the other one, which is great. It
Yeah.
just refills your board because you had no creatures. I wonder if all the cycle has like a this is good with creatures, this is good with no creatures thing. It's like both two situations that.
Hmm.
I think it's A. It just seems like one of many white A rares. As you said,
Yeah.
it's not Averbrook level A plus kind of range, but
Yeah, I think I probably would just give this an A, but like the A plus of those particular cards, I'm not gonna reset my like A plus level to match those guys, because those cards were just,
sick. All right, so
but
white seemed particularly strong in the rares, and the samurai stuff at the beginning in the commons also looks strong.
yeah, it has a lot of good good stuff. It seems like the synergies are going to be supported well within it. A little bit. We thought about that like for training and things like that in Vow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really depend on if you can get it all set up and get some value out of it. I think the limited this is our first color that we're reviewing. But I think this limited set is going to be actually really cool.
Yeah, we'll see. And we'll be back again soon with the blue cards. Bye-bye.